Okay, so if any of you remember last year in Quakerism, David told us a story about how his dad met Albert Einstein. Um, and the story is it's like this. David's father met Albert Einstein at a college in New York. And Einstein was in his office and he was, writing all those crazy math stuff on his board. And he stepped in and just simply greeted, said something like, "Good morning, Professor Einstein," all this stuff. Then Einstein didn't look up at him, but he said one thing. He said, "Kid, if I had another 60 years to live, I can prove everything I've proved wrong." And that's just like, whoa. It blew my mind because he's like, the most famous scientist of the past 100 years. And that just made me think how we are still living completely under the influence of the scientists and the inventions from 100 years ago. Like the telephone poles you see outside in Barnesville, they probably existed when your grandpa was your age. And including how our electricity system, car engines, nuclear power plants, electric grid, and I'm gonna focus on the electricity system in McGrady, about how we can improve it using the example of the electric car company Tesla. And many people may ask, why does it matter that we're still using the inventions from a long time ago? Because, it seems like it doesn't really matter. So the thing is, the world has changed so much since 100 years ago. And those old theories and technologies has just gone, they're just not reliable anymore. I mean, that our resources crisis and climate change that I'm sure everyone's aware of, I say, is because of that. What we're trying to do is we're trying to use less and less resources of what we already have instead of trying to find something new to use. Because, you see, the reason why the ways we try to save our energy is not super efficient because we're still using our old resources, and we need to find something new. Yeah, and I'm so not ready. But of course, I am not the first person who came up with this idea, and of finding new resources to use. The Tesla company has already came up with the idea with electric cars that doesn't burn fuel. The techniques are astonishing, but the company didn't quite succeed. And even the idea of saving the planet and human resources should have made the company rich, or at least it should have brought a significant amount of attention to the field of electric cars, but it didn't. And in my grade, I'm going to prove and explain why Tesla was a failure. And I was going to prove that Einstein's relativity of time was wrong. And that's what I told most of you what I was going to do at grade on. Because, it's very cool for sure. And that's like another point-evidence on the philosophy level of explaining the reasons why our world is dying and how we can prove it, how we can change it and save it, rebuild it. And I'm going to somehow try to stick it into my grad if I don't end up abolishing it. And I hope you see the little relation here between the reasons why the climate change isn't being solved, and the reasons why Tesla is failing, and the reason why we need some new techniques to save our world. Questions?
All right, questions for Eric?
Okay, so like you're talking about the cars and they're using electricity, okay? But like are you going to talk about like solar power or a different type of like way of making electricity? Because generally when you're using electricity to charge your car, you would be using something like, most of our electricity comes from coal, which is damaging the earth like a lot, and all the people in our like environmental science class right now are learning about it. So like are you going to focus on also using renewable energy rather than like coal or something, like using like solar power or something that's like more
I don't know yet, but I think I will be focusing on ways to generate electricity, because nowadays we still, just like you said, we generate our electricity from burning coal, and that's not right because we're running out of coal. So I'll be explaining more on how we can do that. Yeah.
Any other questions for Eric?
Bosco, you had a question?
I just forgot it.
You forgot it, really?
Again. My mind is slowing down.
Your mind is still down.
You're the youngest one here, Bosco.
You're becoming old, Bosco.
Spirit.
Welcome to our level.
All right, so your argument is a little complicated, so I'm trying to understand it. So, like, first point is Tesla, you assert that Tesla is a failure,
It is.
and,
Yes.
and you're interested in figuring out why that's the case.
Yeah.
Why aren't we all driving electric cars? Okay, that's fair.
Or like, why the new inventions aren't getting rid of the old ones? Why do people still prefer
Right, and
old
Tesla's like an
vehicles
example.
over Tesla? Yeah, Tesla's the failure example.
Right. So really what you're interested in are like whatever forces there are in science or society or economics that mitigate against the adoption of new technologies.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
And
That's cool.
no, what I thought was the coolest was on how I related it to climate change and the resources crisis that we humans are facing.
Sure. Yeah.
That was just cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Can I go next?